This crash was already written. The world just chose not to read it. What if I told you that the 2008 financial crisis, the collapse of banks, the housing bubble, and trillions of dollars wiped out was predicted decades in advance? Not by a prophet, not by a conspiracy theorist, but by a quiet economist almost no one listened to. His name was Hyman Minsky, and his warning was terrifyingly simple. Capitalism doesn't collapse despite success, it collapses because of it. Hyman Minsky was born in 1919, growing up in the shadow of the Great Depression. Unlike celebrity economists you see on TV, Minsky spent most of his life teaching in universities, writing dense academic papers far, far away from Wall Street's spotlight. While mainstream economists were celebrating free markets and endless growth, Minsky was asking a very uncomfortable question. What if stability itself is the real danger? For decades, his ideas were dismissed as pessimistic, outdated, even irrelevant. But history, as it often does, would prove him right in the most dramatic way possible. Minsky's most powerful contribution was something called the financial instability hypothesis. Now, the name sounds complicated, but the meaning is deceptively simple. Long periods of economic stability and prosperity actually encourage people to take on more and more risk. Think about it. When the economy grows smoothly for years, when things feel safe, people start to believe that crashes are a thing of the past. Banks loosen their lending standards, offering money to almost anyone. Investors use more leverage, borrowing to amplify their bets. Companies take on more debt to expand. Slowly, almost invisibly, confidence replaces caution. And the entire system, which looks so strong on the surface, becomes incredibly fragile. Stability creates the conditions for instability. To explain how this risk builds up, Minsky divided borrowers into three categories. First, there's hedge finance. This is the safest form. Borrowers can afford to pay back both the interest and the principal from their regular cash flow. The system is stable, healthy, and sound. Then things get a little riskier. We move into speculative finance. In this stage, borrowers can still afford to pay the interest on their loans, but they can't pay back the principal. They have to roll over their debt, essentially taking out new loans to pay off the old ones. The system now depends on things staying good. It relies on interest rates remaining low and the economy continuing to grow. It's becoming fragile. Finally, we reach the most dangerous phase, Ponzi finance. This is where the system is on the brink of collapse. Borrowers in this stage can't afford to pay the interest or the principal. They are relying entirely on the price of their assets continuously going up. As long as prices rise, they can sell their assets for a profit to cover their debts, and everything looks fine. The illusion of wealth continues. But the moment prices stop rising or even just slow down, the whole house of cards collapses. Every major financial bubble in history ends here. Eventually, the system reaches a breaking point. This is what's known as the Minsky Moment. It doesn't always need a huge, dramatic shock to trigger it. Sometimes it's just a small interest rate hike, or a slight slowdown in asset prices. Maybe just a general loss of confidence. Suddenly, speculative and Ponzi borrowers can't refinance their debts. They start to default. The panic spreads like wildfire. Banks stop lending to each other. Credit markets freeze. And what looks stable for years collapses in a matter of weeks. The Minsky moment is when the music stops and everyone realizes how fragile the system truly was. Now let us turn the clock back to the years before 2008. All the signs Minsky warned about were there, plain as day. Housing prices, we were told, could only go up. Banks were handing out risky subprime mortgage to people who couldn't possibly afford them. Wall Street created complex, obscure financial instruments called derivatives. Essentially packaging up all this risk and selling it around the world, debt was disguised as innovation. And through it all, economists and politicians kept repeating one dangerous phrase: "This time is different." Then came the collapse. Lehman Brothers, a 158-year-old institution, failed. Credit markets around the globe froze solid. The world plunged into the worst recession since the Great Depression. And it was only then, in the rubble of the global economy, that the world rediscovered Hyman Minsky. Newspapers and financial journals started running headlines that all said the same thing. Minsky was right. The phrase Minsky Moment officially entered the financial vocabulary. So, if his ideas were so accurate, why didn't anyone listen to him earlier? The simple answer is that Minsky's ideas were inconvenient. He challenged the prevailing optimism of free market capitalism. He criticized deregulation, arguing that an unchecked financial system was a recipe for disaster. He argued that markets aren't naturally stable, they are inherently unstable. Most importantly, he didn't offer comforting stories of endless growth and easy profits. People, especially during a boom, prefer those stories. Minsky offered warnings. And warnings don't sell when everyone is getting rich. Now, look around our world today. We see record levels of global debt, far higher than before 2008. We see wild speculation in stock markets and cryptocurrencies. We see real estate frenzies in cities all over the world. We see new technologies promising infinite growth, just like they did in the dot-com bubble. The question isn't, will there be another crisis? The question Minsky would ask is, when? According to his theory, without strong regulation and oversight to keep risk in check, capitalism will repeatedly manufacture its own disasters. Hyman Minsky was not anti-capitalist. He believed capitalism could work, but only if its most dangerous self-destructive tendencies were controlled. His message was clear and timeless. Unchecked finance inevitably turns stability into catastrophe. The tragedy is that Minsky was only celebrated after the disaster he predicted had already struck. And if we're not careful, history suggests the next crisis will once again catch the world by surprise, despite the warning already being written for all of us to see. History doesn't repeat because we don't know better. It repeats because we ignore the warnings when times feel too good to fail. Thanks for watching, and if you found this valuable, please subscribe for more.